Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, October 14th, 2021. I'm Keith Tebow. The election season is heating up with candidate forums beginning this week. We hear from candidates running for City Council. Does the city face a budget deficit? Depends on which mayoral candidate you ask. And we introduce you to the new executive director of Battleship Cove. All this and more coming up. Candidates for Fall River City Council gathered last night for a forum hosted by FRC Media. 13 of the 18 candidates on the ballot were on hand over 2 sessions. And this is what they had to say about their top priority if elected.
The biggest issue facing this city, without a doubt, is the budget that we faced. We're faced with a budget that's not balanced. We have a structural deficit. And we really need to set ourselves up for the future, because I'll tell you, the economy is good now, but it's going to get worse. And if we don't take care of the problems that we have now, in 2 or 3 years from now, it's only going to get worse. So without a doubt, the first thing that I think that we should do is concentrate on the deficit, concentrate on figuring out where we're going to get this, the money that we're using now. We're using a lot of one-time money, so we have to figure out where that's going to come from next year and the year after that. And then the other thing goes back to, again, to public safety. I think it's the way Fall River has become. It's become almost impossible to let your kids go out and ride bikes. I think safety and the finances of this city are paramount to anything else. And if I had unilateral decision making, that's what I would be concentrating on. That's what I would put my resources into figuring out a balanced budget, a budget that could sustain itself going forward in the next couple of years. And then the other thing is basically give the support to our police and make sure that we have enough manpower again on the streets. I think those are two important things that I understand there's 2 branches of government. I understand that we have to work together, but if I had the power to...
Thank you. Council Pereira.
I think that my #1 priority to the people of Fall River is to be accessible and to be accountable. Because no matter what you talk about, people have certain concerns. Whether you think their concerns are major or minor, it is their concern. And I think that you have to be accessible and accountable to all of the residents of the city. And yes, we want a safe city, we want a clean city, but why is our city not clean? Why are people throwing trash all over the place? So what do? Hire people to clean the streets? And to some people, that is a major concern. And what are the solutions to every single one of those problems? You know, we talked about public safety earlier. I'm the one that pushed for ShotSpotter to be put in again. And the reason I did was because when a gunshot is made, then immediately you can go to that location and you get witnesses, fresh witnesses, so we can put that person who was shooting a gun, put them where they belong. But I think accessibility and accountability is key. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raposo.
I believe my #1 priority is the citizens of Fall River, helping them, because at the end of the day, their quality of life is a top priority of my own. I live in the city. I'm fortunate enough to have own a house in the city. At the end of the day, we want a better quality of life for our residents and for our kids. When I look in the eyes of my children at the school every day, I see that we want to have a solid, safe community for them. And again, to better their quality of life, there's a few things that we need to do collectively. We've talked about public safety. We've talked about education. We need to invest in our infrastructure. We need to have safe roads that we can walk through and drive through. But at the end of the day, we need to understand that we work for the people of the citizens of Fall River, and we want to do what is for the best interest of them.
Thank you. Mr. Springer.
Great question. This is something I talked about last election, and I'm going to stick to this on this election. One of my biggest things, especially looking at the previous 48 months, we've been through all kinds of stuff with COVID, with the last administration that still has us in the news for all these negative impacts. It's time to put the positive back in Fall River. Fall River has this amazing group of hardworking, diverse people. We have so many amazing things here that need to be brought forth rather than all this negative black cloud stuff we have where you talk to someone from God knows where, you say from Fall River, you're like, whoa, that's the place where all the, the violence and the mayor that's in the news. So anyway, one of the things as he talked about was you drive, I don't know if anyone's drove down 79 lately, there's quite literally like a bush in the middle of the high-speed lane covering a sign. Who's responsible for that, and why is it not taken care of? It's literally not even an aesthetic thing, it's a safety issue that's covering a highway sign. Well, who's not driving down the highway and seeing this? I don't get it. So that's one thing that really irks me every time I drive down that highway, and making sure we're putting the citizens first, putting our tax money where it's supposed to go, and making sure these things are getting taken care of, because it's not just a matter of trash, which is a bad thing. Now it's a matter of literally safety on the roads that we drive on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tith.
My first priority is to restore the confidence and pride of the Fall River that we once lost, we had. And by doing that, change more in government, in City Hall, more cultural by creating program with my with the colleagues and with the mayor, to see if we could bring some more more folks to make feel comfortable when they go into City Hall, or let them know about more what the infrastructure of City Halls do every day, and then get on with the public safety.
Thank you. Ms. Washington?
I really like what some of the panelists were saying, and they're absolutely right. It's bringing the positive back into the city and what people feel about it. What people want. They want a clean, safe city to live in that they can afford. That's what I said in my speech earlier. So that is extremely important. So we need to focus on a clean, safe city. Those would be the priorities. If I could do that all on my own and that's where I would focus, that's exactly where I would focus. How do you do that? Look, people want pride in their city. If you live in this city, you love this city. You're like me, this is our city. We love our city. That's why I'm doing this. So really it's, where are our businesses? What can we do for our businesses? What needs to be done? And it all goes back to communication. It costs nothing to know how to communicate with our business community, with our constituents, with the people that live here. What do people need? And it's bringing people together, having meetings, finding out what they need, and how do we execute what they need to bring that pride back, to look at the building that we're in. It's absolutely beautiful in here. This is the pride of Fall River. That's what we need to focus on. Having, again, it all comes back to a clean, safe city to live in that we love.
Long term, and it should be the focus and priority of the city, and it kind of has been throughout its history, is economic development. And I would focus specifically on the 17 acres approximately that are going to be opening up at the waterfront, and make sure we control that development in a way that we would like to see, making sure the ordinances are all lined up so there's not going to be high rises going up along the boardwalk, blocking off the historic view of the city for the rest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Amaral.
One is very, very hard because, as you know, we've seen a lot of issues here. It's a toss-up between, obviously, the relief to the taxpayers. This city is continually overtaxing, overburdening our taxpayers. We need to work together. We need to work on the budgeting. We need to work on these excess fees, taxes, everything being thrown at the taxpayers, but we're not seeing any of the results from these. So I'd have to say that's number one, along with public safety. The city is definitely having its issues right now. The gun violence is running rampant. That's definitely, and I know I said pick one, but it's hard to choose between the two. So we got to work together and figure this out. We can't have the clashing. I don't care who likes who works with who. We have to work together to get this stuff under control.
Thank you. Mr. Camara.
Public safety, by far. If you don't have a safe city, you don't have a city. Businesses are not going to want to locate to this community if they don't feel that they'll be safe here. Tourists are not going to want to come and visit our restaurants and our stores, and our businesses won't be able to succeed. And the residents won't be safe going to the parks, walking the streets, going to visit someone. So by far, we have to make sure that we have enough policemen on the streets, bicycle police, make sure that they have the proper equipment, cruisers that are new and modern, and you got to make sure they give them the tools that they need to get the job done. Public safety is by far the number one concern of mine, and every community has to feel that they're safe in their hometown.
Thank you. Councilor Dion.
Yeah, my goal has always been to be a counselor of and for the people. I believe in open and honest government that works for and not against the residents and the taxpayers. I follow this model in every vote I take and every aspect of government, whether you're talking about public safety, education, drug addiction, no matter what the subject is. You need to be true to yourself, and you need, more importantly, to be true to the people that reside in the city of Fall River.
Thank you. Councilor Liberty LeBeau.
So my priority has always been public safety since I was first elected. However, going into the next 2 years, from what we've seen, we really need to be keeping an eye with, the city was given an extraordinary amount of money with the ARPA funds, $70 million. We have the chance to make some really big changes to infrastructure, changes that will reduce fees and taxes to all of our residents and businesses if it's used appropriately. I know there's been back and forth and contention on, the council doesn't have that role, they don't have that say, but it's still something at the end of the day that we need to be aware of and, having conversations on what the best use of that money is.
Thank you. Councilor Lee.
So decreasing the burden on taxpayers, finding alternatives to adding revenue outside the tax base, broadening our tax base in general. Those are some of the main things we can do to decrease the burden on taxpayers, to try to reduce those fees. Infrastructural investments, that's something that we've talked about many times in the council meetings. One of the things that was just mentioned about the ARPA funding is that we can invest in the sewer infrastructure that could directly bring down sewer fees for us. One of the things that has caused one of the biggest causes of our increases in fees is the fact that we no longer have an incinerator for our sewage. So from there, we have to ship it out of town and things like that. That's increasing. That increased our costs from about $500,000 to about $2 million. And those numbers are a little bit estimated, but those are the kind of things that we talked about in those meetings that were the causes of some of these increases. So as a councilor, we have to keep on asking those questions about what is causing these fees, not just taking it for granted that everything's going up. And we need to challenge the system in order to really advocate for the taxpayer.
Thank you. Mrs. Ben-Soha.
Good evening, everyone. My priority would be reestablishing great communication between our legislative body and our executive, and also a priority of mine would be with public safety. And I think it's really, really important that we maintain staffing levels and, put officers on the street. I think the safety of our hardworking families and our children is paramount. So, that would be my number one and number two priority.
If you're watching us on Thursday, join us right after this newscast at 6:30 p.m. for our forum featuring the candidates running for Fall River School Committee. We'll have a complete wrap-up of that forum on next week's show. The candidates for mayor seem to have a difference of opinion on the financial state of the city of Fall River. Last week, Challenger City Council President Cliff Ponte charged that the city will face a budget deficit of $3.2 million this year and upwards of $6 million next year, due in part to the city miscalculating the amount of federal COVID American Rescue Act funds it could use to recoup lost revenue from the pandemic. He says to close the gap, Mayor Paul Coogan has limited options.
They can either lay people off, they can either cut services, they can raise taxes or create new fees. And to put this in perspective for you, laying off people means laying off police officers, firefighters, EMT, water and sewer personnel, city hall employees. The other choice this administration has is to cut services, which might mean they might have to close senior centers. It means reducing hours at City Hall. It means not filling potholes quickly. Alternatively, this administration can raise your property taxes, which can be done a number of different ways. The most common way is something called the debt exclusion, and it will either come this year or next year. Going to the debt exclusion means the city will go even higher than the 2.5% they can legally increase every year, which will cost the residents, the landlords, and the tenants of this community more money. If they go to the debt exclusion, it will plug a hole caused by mismanagement of this administration when the Fall River City Council was trying to hold them accountable.
Mayor Coogan disagrees with Councilor Ponte's assessment, saying the city will be able to use the federal money and is set to deal with future deficits next year.
I would characterize the city's budget situation as very solid. Although we couldn't use all the lost revenue provisions in the ARPA bill, we were able to use the rehiring provisions to fill our roster of employees back up to what it was in the pre-pandemic levels. And that's what we do. We go out, we look for ways to help the city of Fall River, and using the hiring or rehiring provisions, we were able to close that gap. Next year, we do have some additional new revenues coming into the budget. The debt override, as I can attest to, was voted on to go into effect in 2023. Now, if we're not in the situation we're in now, we might be able to find a way to work around the debt exclusion. But if we are, we told the voters who approved it, that debt exclusion was approved by the voters in Fall River, that this is what we're going to have to do. I hope there's a way around it, and we'll do what we can, but there is some additional revenue sources we're looking at also that we can't talk about right now, but they're on the table, and I think we'll do very well.
Councilor Ponte is calling on the mayor to provide details before the election on how the administration plans to close the budget gap. He says if elected, he will keep a close eye on city expenditures.
As your mayor, I will be focused on long-term planning for the financial well-being of every resident of the city of Fall River. That's why, as mayor, I am going to perform an outside audit of the city of Fall River's finances for every single department. I will perform a performance audit for key departments in the city of Fall River, such as our police department. We will work to reorganize city government. We will work to reduce waste and expenses that we just can't continue to afford increases on. We need to be lean. We need to be competent. We need to analyze and review the use of overtime and comp time in all departments. And overall, we need to rein in our expenses.
Mayor Coogan says Councilor Ponte's campaign claims are misleading.
The problem with Councilor Ponte is he's not being truthful. He still talks about the budget, which I cannot believe he's still on that, because he woefully dropped his responsibilities there by not doing anything within the 45-day window. He's still running from his memo that he sent to the voters about how he wanted to work on the eviction market and be a part-time mayor. That's not what Fall River needs. We need someone here that's going to bring stability, honesty, and integrity, and full-time services to the residents. And that's what I'm going to do. That's the difference with myself and Councilor Ponte. I'm here all the time, and I work hard for the city all the time.
Both candidates are also having a debate on debates. Both candidates were invited to take part in 6 debates between now and Election Day. Mayor Coogan says that's too many.
I'm going to do 3 of them. Channels 10, 12, and the WSAR government television one. We did 2 in the preliminary, so that's 5 debates. That's more than enough for a mayor's race in the city of Fall River. I think that gives everybody a chance to see which candidate they prefer, and that's all we need to do. I know he wants to do debates because what he saw happened in the first election, he was probably not pleased with that, although he said he was. But at the same time, I have a campaign to run. I'm working full-time for the city, and I don't have that kind of time to schedule 6 debates in 12 days.
Councilor Ponte says more debates, the better.
We need to have more debates, more forums, so that this community, who I know there's a lot of undecided people, and he does too. That's why he's doing it, because we work the same polls. We know where people are at. We know where the heads are. There are too many undecided people in this city on who they want to vote for, and he doesn't want to debate the issues. And that's a shame, and he's doing a disservice not only to the Portuguese-speaking community, where he totally disrespected last time and doesn't want to debate again. He also doesn't want to do it to other media platforms who are credible and also want to have the opportunity to have their listenership listen to the concerns and the platforms of both candidates.
The first debate with both candidates will be held next week as FRCmedia is working with WSAR and FRG-TV on a debate next Wednesday, October 20th at 6:30 p.m. You can watch on Channel 95, Channel 18, and on Facebook. You can also listen on WSAR Radio. We'll have a recap of the debate next week. Battleship Cove last month welcomed in a new executive director. Megan Rathburn joins the organization following work on other museum ships, the USS Wisconsin in Virginia and the USS Missouri in Hawaii. She says she looks forward to expanding opportunities for visitors to learn not only about the vessels on the waterfront, but the history surrounding them.
As we rebuild, I'm really hoping to put our focus back on education, really rebuild our education programs, both to help local Fall River and extending outreach to schools there, but also wider statewide and even with outside the state. Scout groups have historically been one of our big visitor groups. We're hoping to bring that program back up again. But also we're 76 years out from the end of World War II, so it's become more important in my mind that we educate children today about what that war meant for us. And here at Battleship Cove, we're the official state memorial for World War II, but not just World War II. Korea, Vietnam, and even the Gulf War. So, I mean, behind me here we have, this is the memorial room, so this is all the names of those from Massachusetts who were lost in World War II. And so I think for us, bringing that education aspect back, teaching today's youth about what happened and what the lessons we learned were, is really important.
Ms. Rathburn says she's been amazed by the number of people she's met that have either visited Battleship Cove or stayed on board through its overnight programs. She says she hopes to expand opportunities to promote the museum property to local visitors.
Offering a wider variety of events and programming is one thing that we're looking to do, and to bring a lot of events that we've done in the past back. So our 4th of July that we just did this year was a great success. It's a fantastic place. If you've never been here for 4th of July, you get uninterrupted views from the bow. I mean, it's beautiful for those fireworks. But also doing smaller events and events for different age groups. So we have Boo Bash coming up, 2 dates in October, and that's a trick-or-treating event, and it's mainly made up of families from the local communities, not just from Fall River, but from further out New Bedford down into Rhode Island as well. We're looking at making spaces for rotating exhibits. There's some amazing traveling exhibits that go across the country. There's fantastic ones through the Smithsonian and other big museums that I would like personally to start seeing here, and to bring in changing exhibits, especially for our members and those in the local area, so they can come see something new.
Hispanic Heritage Month officially ends tomorrow. The city held a ceremony last week flying the flags to honor those in the city with ancestry from Mexico, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Brazil. The Latinx population continues to grow within Fall River, especially in our public schools.
Families that are Hispanic heritage at my school, they comprise 44.8% of our student body. In our district, Hispanics are 29.7% of our student body. And on the state level, Hispanics are 22.3% of the numbers of the students in our schools. That is high, and guess what? It's going up, and that's a wonderful and beautiful thing. But why? Why is my presence remarkable? Why is the presence of other Latinx members remarkable in our school system? It's because presence creates possibilities. Presence, our presence, Latinx presence, creates possibilities to communicate for our families, to advocate for our families. It gives the possibility to break barriers. And for our students, well, this presence creates an opportunity to see themselves beyond what maybe they see at home, maybe beyond what they see on TV. The Latinx professionals that they see in the school system gives them a possibility that they can go on to school, that they can become whatever they want to be. Presence creates possibilities.
Local businesses around the country and here in Fall River are still having trouble finding applicants to fill vacant positions. Viva Fall River and the Fall River's Transformative Development Initiative is looking to help downtown businesses fill jobs by hosting an open-door job fair this Monday.
A business can either literally just open their door that day if you're looking for help, or, alternatively, if it's a nice day, it's always nice to get out on the sidewalk and put a little table out perhaps, and just kind of let people know that you're looking for staff. And this is an opportunity for people to not feel like it's so formal. You can ask some questions. And then, of course, the goal is to get people to fill out applications. So we are offering an incentive. If you apply at 3 or more participating businesses, you come by and visit me over at the Viva Fall River pop-up, which is at the corner of South Main and Columbia. We're going to be giving out these little tickets, not unlike if you went to a raffle or a tag sale. You just give me those 3 or hopefully more tickets, and you're going to be entered to win a $100 gift card to Amazon.
The job fair runs Monday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll wrap up FRC Media News after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Clinical Support Specialist. The Deaconess Home, located at 603 Rock Street, seeks a full-time clinical support specialist, responsible for multiple activities that directly support the work of licensed clinical social work staff. Job number 156-18948. Starter Maintenance Mechanic. Gold Medal Bakery, located at 21 Penn Street, is looking for a part-time starter maintenance mechanic to perform preventative maintenance, work order-based projects, and respond to breakdown calls to operate lines. Job number 156-17990. Retail Store Associate. Matouk, located at 277 Pleasant Street, is in need of a full-time retail store associate, responsible for providing excellent customer service by assisting store customers with selecting and purchasing merchandise. Job number 156-08368. Dental Assistant. HealthFirst Family Care Center, located at 387 Quarry Street, is looking for a full-time dental assistant. For more information, call 508-627-1283. Steward Healthcare System, located at 1030 President Avenue, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Nursing Assistant, job number 156-13859. Clinical Educator, job number 156-13608. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Oh, I was just about to start carving into one of these babies. Join us Monday, October 18th at 5:00 p.m. to participate in our pumpkin carving contest. You can compete to be our master pumpkin carver. You could win either the spookiest pumpkin, the most traditional, or the most creative. Call Circulation Services at the Fall River Public Library to register for your free pumpkin so that you can join us on Monday, October 18th at 5:00 p.m. There's an hour that you'll have to be able to carve your pumpkin, and then you could join us for a tea lighting at dusk to see all your pumpkins in front of the library on the library lawn. Remember, join us Monday, October 18th at 5:00 p.m., but don't forget to call us to register at the Fall River Public Library Circulation Desk, 508-324-2700, extension 2.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please check out our website at frmedia.org for all the latest news and information, as well as our special webpage looking at the candidates and issues of this year's Fall River municipal election. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next Thursday.